Hello, everyone out there in BKi land. Nick Leival here with the man
Hello,
Tyler Harmon.
let's go. We got action.
We got action on this Lone Star State layout right here. I'm pumped. I like this layout. Tyler, first thoughts on it?
Yes, yeah, NXL Lone Star Major, April 28th to the 30th, and we've got the layout here for you all. This is looking amazing. We got a lot of density in the middle, lots of big bunkers up the middle, so it's going to get active, lots of run-throughs. You got a traditional ladder snake with no big obstacles on that wire, which is a little bit refreshing. And I kind of expected with the last one, I was like, okay, we're probably going to see a little bit more of a traditional style on this side. And then you've got some great opportunities for movement with all those Doritos. I mean, when you've got that many Doritos down a wire, and then you've got those three laydowns that are all right next to each other, this is going to be a drop low, get lost, and really get up the field and do some damage on that Dorito side as well, because you can drop low and kind of disappear to the field and really make some good moves down that side.
Absolutely, Ty. I agree with everything you just said there. I think the first thing that drew me was the first thing you started with was all those big bunkers in the center. I think
Mm-hmm.
having all those big bunkers up there, it really lends to people having to be there to close a game or getting into those spots to get to the other team side of the field. There's a lot of opportunities in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to guess that this is probably going to be a rather heavy middle field. But that being said, that long ladder snake that once you get in there, you can make it all the way down to the other team side. And having that many bunkers on the Dorito side, there's opportunities everywhere on this field. And yeah,
Yeah.
I'm pumped about opportunities.
Yes. No, you're absolutely right, man. If you get in that snake and you're the only player in there and they're not in there and you've got them trapped out, there's some big moves that can be made all the way down that side of the field, zigzagging through all those bunkers. And then, like you said, as we're looking at the middle here, we've got a treasure trove of bunkers to choose from.
Absolutely, treasure trove, 100%. I think taking a look from the start box here, granted we are a little bit tall on purpose. One thing that I want to stress right off the break here is shots off the break being possible over the tops of these big bunkers in the middle. And so there is a lot of opportunities in terms of off the break shots from this back center. But let's start with the back center. Ty, do you like this thing or not?
Yeah, lots of good shots off the break. Like you said, you can get some drop shots in there for that first big Dorito. You've got a nice slice there for the first Dorito can. And then obviously the big tower up the middle there on the Dorito side, you can get some shots in there. So three huge gaps there to be able to lay paint into. You can also see your mirror. So you can fire back up the middle and also help your team even with some shots back up the middle to kind of mitigate all that paint coming to your Dorito players from this side. So definitely a lot of optics there. You also have the snake side can shot. And once again, if you shoot over that big brick on the snake side, there's going to be a nice cut there for anybody going out wide. So total, you've got, anywhere from 5, 7, 8 shots if you get creative with a bunch of different things, and a lot of opportunity from this back middle to get hopefully a elimination off the break and give your team an advantage early.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I like about this layout is, the back center, as you're saying, having a lot of options in terms of shooting. But then after that initial breakout, this back center does not look that great. Being that players have already gotten wide, being
Mm-hmm.
that there's not much to see in terms of knowing where people are and being able to call out spots besides straight up at your mirror or the tower on the Dorito side, or even on this opposite side. Sorry, I jumped a little far there. Maybe being able to see through the little cut of people getting out into the snake side. But after that, this back center guy, let's say 2 minutes into the game, probably shouldn't be here anymore. And I love fields like this where the back center is important, but then
Mm-hmm.
becomes increasingly less important as the mid game end game goes on. And so even though
Yes.
we're starting off with the back center, this guy is probably going to be ending up going up the middle based on where his team goes. But there's going to be fills either side for this back center player, and so I can definitely see teams double stacking this back center off the break and then filling out. And so that just leads to a whole host of different breakouts. This
Mhm.
field is definitely not going to be one of those fields where every team is doing the same breakout from start to finish. There's going to be a lot of things tried. There's going to be a lot of options, whether you're up or down. And so, where do you want to start after this back center here?
Yeah, you do not want to be in this thing when the game develops and they get down the snake side in the Doritos, and that's not how you win paintball games either. And we've seen that with the NXL events for the last couple seasons. You got to go, you got to put these games in your hand, you got to make moves and get creative. And that's how you get the big wins out there. From here, let's go ahead and work on the snake side, and then we'll work towards the middle, and then we'll finish the Doritos.
Awesome. I love that. One of the very first things in terms of on the snake side, starting from the box here, is this cross shot on the Dorito side is probably one of the bigger shots off the break. As you can see, that Dorito player has to move about 12, 15 feet out to that can.
Mhm.
And this player is going to have a shot not only before the can, but after the can on the Dorito side, where all these big middle bunkers are blocking out the shots from across the field. And so this cross shot, whether it be up to this tower or whether it be out onto the snake side, this is probably going to be one of the more consistent dead zones on this
Mhm.
field being played over and over again. So I just wanted to start out with this initial cross shot, but moving out onto the snake side here, our very first bunker. What are we going to call this thing?
We'll go with snake can. And you're right, Nick. The reason, and this is for anybody who looks at a field, anytime you have a bulk of big bunkers lined up like that, you're going to have some really effective dead zones that you can sit behind, right? So that was really good picking up on that for the Doritos side. And, you can get creative on both sides, snake side, Dorito side, but you got to just really look at how you can block yourself out. And from the snake can, you're going to be able to dig into this can, and then you're going to have a pretty good little battle heads up, I would imagine. You're going to have some players that are going to try to send it to the snake, but I think predominantly we're going to see probably a back middle, two middles, and then a snake and a Dorito. And then we'll have filtration after that. But I would have to assume that most of the time this can is going to be hot early. Like I said, I'm sure sometimes some teams are going to send it if they have to, but this is where the action's going to be right off the break. Heads up with your can.
100%. And I think that this can battle is going to be very interesting because there's going to be a lot of things to do here, even though you can really only see straight to your mirror. And by things to do, what I'm talking about is usually this is probably going to be a one in the early part of the game and a two in the latter part of the game. But
Mhm.
this dead zone that we talked about, this player can shoot the cross shot that we already talked about, but this player can also shoot the God, and a player trying to run God to snake. So if this is a one or a two, that might mean that you might be getting into this can late. And if the other team decided to go to this can right away and play forward, they're going to have quite the amount of dominance and the ability to shoot back into the middle for people going up to that center tower,
Yeah.
or even being able to shoot the dead zone player that stayed in that spot. And whether they do that or not, just being able to come out to this can right away and see forward and see that no one is on you directly, there's going to be the opportunity to sneak right out into this god, into the snake area,
Mhm.
based on what you see ahead of you. And so that little battle back and forth is going to be really interesting to see how coaches are going to want to play their ones and twos there, or how ones and twos are going to be able to go to that can, win a quick gunfight, and then get into the god, or if they're going to want to opt to shoot for the wide. So there's a lot of options even in that, just from the start gate to this can area.
Yes. Yeah, there are. And from that blind zone as well, you can shoot the Dorito away, but you can also pick up a little bit of visuals on anybody going past the can. If they do go into the snake or the temple here, you can have a pretty good idea of what's going out that way from the blind zone. And then once you're in that can, you've got to assert that dominance on your mirror to make sure that you know what's going on the snake side. Also, you have a little bit of a sliver where you can see if a player makes it wide or into the snake if you're back a couple feet from it. So as you're sliding out and walking up to this, you should be able to see, hopefully some feet or a body going into that snake corner or into the snake, and really putting a real big emphasis on obviously having that awareness. We can never have players make it to outside spots and not know. So we've got to make sure somebody has eyes on that.
Absolutely. And what's interesting with the snake, which I think is probably going to make it even more powerful, is not having a corner. Um,
Hmm.
so not having a corner out here, it does two things. One, for players that want to go forward or progress out wide down this field, they pretty much have to go in the snake. So no, if you're a player that's not comfortable with playing in the snake, or you feel like I'm a 2 or a 3, really the only way to match this side is to get into the snake, because your
Hmm.
corner is basically already in the snake. This is the corner, basically. um and so there's gonna have to be a lot of work and diving to get to a spot where you can be as wide as the other team if they do make the snake. But then once you make it in here, there's not a ton of control that you can have down